Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Texas State Asian Culture Museum. Welcome back to our distance learning videos. We are so excited to be bringing these series back. We have a lot planned out for some of these videos, so you really enjoy them. The one we're going to start off with in our first series is on the great Genghis Khan, and this video kicks off the first of the four-part Mongolian-themed distance learning videos. The reason why we're going with this theme is because we don't have any true artifacts on Mongolia here in the museum yet. So this is our way of respecting and revering the Mongolian culture as an ancient culture museums ourselves. So we hope you enjoy it. Hope you all learn a lot. Stay tuned. Born in the year 1162 or 1167, depending on which historical resource you're going with. He was born with the name Temujin. He was given this name by his father, who he named after a rival tribe leader that Temujin's father had killed. So this is where Temujin gets his name. His father himself was their own tribe leader, their own clan leader, and by the time Temujin was reaching about the age 8 or 10, under Mongolian common law, it is appropriate to already betroth your child to another tribe's daughter, son, and this helped with, clan unity and good will, things of that sort. So Temujin was promised to this young girl from a neighboring tribe, but when Temujin reached the age of 12 or so, his father was poisoned by the rival tribe on which all those years ago Temujin's father had killed their leader, which again is where Temujin got his name from. And due to Temujin being of young age, he was unable to attain his father's followers, couldn't keep their loyalty, so him and his mother were abandoned, left to starve and die in the wilderness. But they were able to survive, and sometime after that, though, Temujin was kidnapped by a rival tribe and forced into enslavement, did forced labor, things of that sort. And there he learned some fighting, some self-defense, things of that sort. And while he was there, he ended up finding some of his father's loyal followers, so they banded together, and then one of the nights they were able to escape. And upon their escapement, they were able to find a neighboring tribe that which Temujin's father had helped, and the name of this tribe was the Kiri. And they were able to, get sanctioned and live with them. And then this is where also Temujin was able to finally find Borte, which is the young lady girl who Temujin was promised to as a young child, and they got married at the age of 16. Throughout the years, Temujin became a strong leader. He amassed a large following and produced a grand army. He together defeated rivaling tribes. He was then able to unite the nomadic tribes of Mongolia and the grasslands of Central Asia, and he became a dominant leader through diplomacy, generosity, and an astounding use of force and punishment. In Temujin's wake of his power, there were two options for a rival tribe, especially a defeated tribe. It was either join Temujin's army or be killed. And that was it. That's all you had to go on. Most importantly, he awarded those with bravery, those showing bravery in the battlefield. He was lenient and gave high praise to. So on an instance, one of these is very cool. A man withstood the full cavalry charge of Temujin's army and was able to take down Temujin's horse with one of his arrows. And with this, Temujin awarded the man the rank of general in his own army, which was pretty sweet. As I said, as the years passed, he gained a large following and a grand army. He defeated rivals such as the Tatars, the Kirids, the Namids, and most importantly the Merkids, and these were the most significant rivals of Temujin and his followers and everything. In 1206, when Temujin reached the age of 44, there was a great conference of the Mongolian Confederation, and they met at the Kurlan River. Temujin was then declared the official leader of the Mongolian tribes and given the name Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan, which means universal leader. Even though he was elevated to such a high standing, he kept his humble roots. These were people, like I said, they're nomadic people. They moved, migrated according to seasons, so they traversed the land that way. And he didn't want to have any other high-end expenses or any life of luxury or material things. So he even kept his simple yurt or tent, and that's made out of a hide, wool type of thing. So it's pretty cool. Temujin was also able to transfer the only spoken Mongol language into written text. And they did this when they met up with the Uyghur Turks. And the Turks would have been around this area or so. So they were able to meet them, and he was able to gain writing skills. Since they were illiterate, but with the help of the Turks, they were able to process written word. And Temujin, or Genghis Khan now, created the law code called the Yasa. And this is a Mongol common law with some added attributes. And some of these that Temujin added to was no blood feuds, no adultery, theft, and no bearing false witness. There was also respect for the environment, so you could not bathe in rivers or streams, so you can protect the water system and the source. And if two soldiers are accompanying each other, the second soldier had to pick up whatever the first soldier left or was thrown from his belongings. And this is a way to help with the brotherhood. An infraction on any of these from the Yasa was punishable by death. He also created the first postal system using horses. Horses were the most efficient way of traversing all this land. And when they reached this point, however, this is where they started mainly using the postal system, and this is how they got, their mail. Their things that are happening in the war fronts or change of seasons and this and that, and how everything was going. So Genghis Khan was able to secure his position by avoiding the creation of divisions in the tribes and the armies. And this strayed away from Mongol tradition. They had a habit of creating their own factions, their own sects of things. So the way Genghis Khan secured his own power was by keeping everyone united. So he was also able to expand his own elite personal bodyguards from 800 to 10,000 men, and that's huge. So Genghis Khan attacked the Jin state of China on multiple occasions. 1205, the year before he becomes actual Genghis Khan, 1209 and 1211. And as you look at the map, here you have the Xia dynasty, up here is the Jin dynasty, where Beijing is at. So this is where Mongolia started, and then this is where all the other tribes he defeated, united, and then they started going this way. The Jurchen state was able to amass about 450,000 soldiers, split between cavalry and infantry, and they heavily outnumbered the Mongol army. But Khan had excellent military tactics that were really not seen until Khan. And some of these tactics include they would attack a city, then retreat, and in the wake of the chaos, the Jin state police would have trouble reassembling, getting things under control. And then they'll go back and back on a repeat, sacking the same city, attacking everything. And then on multiple occasions, also, they'll just completely decimate a city, burn it to the ground, destroy, kill every citizen, nothing was left. And they did this in a few places. And this was a warning to neighboring cities to say, don't mess with us, but also either join us or you die, type of thing. So there was that. Some other issues occurred within the Jurchen state, the Jin dynasty of China, that caused the Jin state to pretty much more or less fall and become weak. They then signed a peace deal with Genghis Khan, and they would pay tribute. They also started moving south into the Sung dynasty, the empire. So they went from up here, realized they couldn't hold back Genghis Khan, and they started fleeing south. And this is going to cause some issues because by the time we get to 1215, Genghis Khan started attacking the Shia dynasty, which is this area over here. And then the Sung dynasty down here started to ally with the Mongols. They did not like the Jin state either. They, to the Jin and the Sung Empire, had multiple occasions of battling. So they figured their best bet was to side with Khan and get their help. In the course of a year, between 1212 and 1213, over 90 cities were attacked and most likely destroyed. The original Jin state does fall in 1234, but this is a few years after Genghis Khan leaves. Genghis Khan was able to control majority of China, so all the way up here, but this does not stop him. As you see these arrows, they go all the way into the Western Asia territory, all the way up to the Middle East by the Caspian Sea. And this is where, again, where the charge to meet, a lot of other people. Along their sweep of the Eurasian continent, Genghis Khan and his men were seen as nothing more than a plague of conquer and violence. Khan was set apart from other rulers though. He was lenient. He allowed the conquered areas to remain autonomous, pretty much. They kept their own religion, their religious freedom. Even the rulers that were left there were allowed to keep their power, allowed to rule. Obviously, they just got to keep paying tribute to Khan and his empire. International trade was encouraged. The Silk Road leads all the way up here, and along the Silk Road, merchants of every origin along the area, even his own people, but they were given protection. They were not messed with, and if, let's say, thieves were to mess with the Silk Road and anyone traveling under Khan's protection, Khan would send out a, small battalion of men, and they would correct the issue. Historians from all over, from China to Persia, noted on Genghis Khan's accomplishments. Unfortunately, Genghis Khan would fall on August 18, 1227, during a siege in northwest China, so around this area. Sources say it was due to a fallen accident that he had. He fell off his horse during another siege or hunting accident, and the internal injuries were too much. The men, though, were spared the news during the sacking in northwest China, waiting until afterwards to receive the news. His body was sent back to the Mongolian capital, which would have been up here. Those present at Genghis Khan's funeral, everyone who knew about it were executed. It was kept in total secret. And sources say the tomb is in the area of a mountain, one of the sacred mountains in Mongolia, known as the Burkham Holdun. And this would be the mountain area. They diverted a river and even planted several trees in order to help conceal the mountain as well. But before some time Genghis Khan had passed away, he knew that in the event of his death, divisions of the empire would happen. So he made his own provisions to prevent them from happening. He left the empire to his sons so that they can divide it up on themselves and to keep the ruling bloodline. And his sons would be Jochi, Chagatai, Tulu, and Ogidi. And that way you also notice people from what happened. Jochi, though, would happen to pass away before his father did, and then Ogidi would assume the Khan throne until his own death in 1241. Now we'll go back to some of these maps over here, especially this one. Kublai Khan, which was the grandson of Genghis conquered the remaining parts of China in 1275. So as we see here, the legend, by the time Kublai Khan, he controls the rest of China along with the Song dynasty. He then proclaims himself the new emperor of the Yuan dynasty that lasts 100 years, which is pretty impressive. And Mongolia became the largest empire ever known, conquering pretty much everything in Asia. Korea, minus Japan, they tried but didn't succeed. So they went from all the way from Asia to the Middle East, Korea, into the Himalayas, all up to past the Caspian Sea. Genghis Khan was seen as nothing less as godlike. He was heavily revered and worshipped in medieval times, and even in today's time, he is still given high praise. There are festivals, ceremonies that honor Genghis Khan in the Mongolian capital of Ulaanbaatar. Born from humble beginnings, casted out, left to die, captured, rose to power and greatness. Genghis Khan will be seen throughout history by his own people, the eyes of his people, the eyes of the world, as a great leader, a unifier, a first-timer of everything, with his tactics, unifying his people, all of Asia. He'll forever live on, even after we have gone. Everyone will remember the name Genghis Khan. So some fun facts about Genghis Khan. Did you know there is no single portrait of Genghis Khan anywhere? All of the paintings, drawings, and things like that are created post-death because these artists didn't know him well or never really saw him, so they were just images they gathered from documents people talked about. He is credited with bringing the two sides of the Eurasian continent together, allowing Eastern and Western civilizations to be in contact. So like I said, all this, none of these people ever came into contact until Genghis Khan came and unified all of them. And this is where you get the religious tolerance from Khan and even his own people. When especially you get this way, where Christianity is heavy, he allowed Christianity. His own people converted to Christianity because that was allowed under Khan, because you had religious freedom, which was pretty awesome. Genghis Khan's last ruling descendant was in 1920. And that's an extremely long time, and especially that 1920 happens during World War I. So imagine last ruling descendant. You know, by the time the Khan Empire, the Mongolian Empire got a little bit smaller by then, but still, to have an empire run that long is something short of a miracle. Approximately 20 to 40 million, about 5 to 10% of that world's population were killed under Khan. This also brought down the world's carbon emissions by a significant amount, so climate change was under control then. He had a harem of about 2,000 or so women that he acquired or captured, and so with that, about 1 in 200, or about 0.5% of today's population is in some way related to Genghis Khan. So go to Ancestry.com and see if you're related to Genghis Khan, because that would be something fun to know. Despite being brutal on the battlefield, he did treat his enemies with leniency, like I said. He even sometimes was a better leader and ruler to those captured people than their previous ruler leader. So in a way, Genghis Khan helped liberate them. And we go back to the Great Wall. The Great Wall was designed to keep out Mongolia, even before Genghis Khan's time. But he is credited with being one of the first to actually break through and even just go around the Great Wall to attack China. And that happened in 1213. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, the great Genghis Khan. We hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you enjoyed learning. And this stock frozen image is credited by Extra Credit Histories. They have their own version that they did on Genghis Khan. This was my own. As you can see, I did my own research for this. But seeing their version also, as a fellow historian, the way they did theirs is truly wonderful and beautiful. As an historian myself, it is important to not just focus on minor aspects of whatever you Google. It's always important to further that research and knowledge so you get the whole picture, because sometimes in history people just want to focus on what they want to focus on and not see the whole thing. And that's the importance of going through this, especially as an Asian Culture Museum, diving into certain regions, certain historical figures that may or may not be deemed evil or seen as a bad omen, but this is a way to gather that true knowledge of what it means to be an historian. And that's why we're going to be doing all these types of videos, starting again, with all these. So, thank you. Y'all enjoy your day. Y'all stay safe, stay healthy. See you next time for the Texas State Asian Culture Museum.